Good evening, race fans. It is time for round number 7 of the RSR Asphalt Assault Series presented by Inside Sim Racing. Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Rosenau, and joining me in the booth in a few moments is another member that you are familiar of hearing, Jacob Seelman. He'll be with us here in just a few moments, but joining us alongside is our driver analyst for the evening, Brian Macklin. And Brian, first night necessarily on a new build, especially in these B cars for the RSR series. You've had a chance to test it out. You want to enlighten us on some of the changes that have been made in the B car here tonight?
Yeah, I went out there and tested and was doing a few laps just to see what these drivers are going to be experiencing here tonight. And they added a lot of downforce to these cars to allow them to drive into the corners a little bit harder. However, they don't have the grip coming out of the corner, so they're going to have a hard time getting back in the gas and just full throttling it off the corner. I've been watching these drivers, and I experienced it while testing, and it's very loose if you get in the gas too quickly. These drivers are really going to have to pay attention to that, and when they start racing side by side, and especially when they're racing at the end of the race, it's going to be interesting to see just how hard they're willing to push it without crossing that line and causing their car to spin out.
Qualifying underway, group qualifying here tonight. 6 minutes left in the qualifying session, and no stranger to the top of the charts. Well, you guessed it, the number 9 of Jeff Ward, going faster than his qualifying time, or his practice time, excuse me, with a qualifying time of 40.092 seconds around the 2-mile Michigan International Speedway in the Irish Hills of Michigan, just off of US 12 and M50 over on the southeast side of the state. And Jeff Ward still out on track after running that fast lap, but in second right now provisionally in the qualifying session, the number 46 of Anthony DeBarro with a 40.164 second lap. One of the few drivers that have actually been able to break down into the 40.1s, but still has a little ways to go here in the qualifying session before getting into the league of Jeff Ward in a 40 flat. And Brian, that's some time. I mean, Jeff Ward actually went quicker than what he practiced in the practice session.
Yeah, it looked like he might have had a little bit of help with the draft there as we were, as he was going out there for his lap, and that certainly plays a big factor, especially on this track. And it's always important to be able to try to improve or at least match your practice time. You set that bar for the rest of the field. They know how fast you're capable of going, and if you can push it just a little bit harder and get a little bit more speed out of it, it makes your competition have to work that much harder. And we've all noticed it over the last several weeks. Jeff Ward's been the man to beat, and it looks like that's the case again here tonight.
He is certainly the man to beat here in the qualifying session, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you folks Jacob Seelman. Jacob, Jeff Ward still on top of the charts, man. Same story, different week.
I'm going to pretend like I'm surprised. I really am. That's 1, 2, a bunch of different times this season. I mean, how many weeks do we sit here, Justin, and say he's the hottest guy in real sim racing? It continues tonight, and you know, it's the master of adaptability is really what it is, Justin, because Jeff is good at every time you throw a curveball at these guys, he's the one that picks up on it first. And that's the case tonight. New build, new ball game, and same old story.
It sure is, and Anthony DeBarro just put down another qualifying lap in this session, improving his time, but still about a half a tenth off of Jeff Ward. He still sits provisionally second in the qualifying session, just turning a 40.138 second lap. And Scott Simley in third with a 40.183 second lap. And Dwayne Vincent riding right now in fourth in the number 13 with a 40.194 second lap here in the qualifying session, and rounding out your top 5 in tonight's qualifying session for the Asphalt Assault Series, the Michigan 180 at the MIS Michigan International Speedway is going to be the 07 of Christopher Hurlow from the RCO Boomtown camp. And Jacob, it's a lot of big names there in that top 5.
Let's see. Yeah, about everybody in that top 5 is going to have a shot to win this race tonight, Justin. I'm going to say it. This is just one of those places where it's either going to get really strung out or it's going to get really messy tonight. And if it gets really messy, it's going to be very easy for maybe somebody to sneak up on this tonight. So I'm not going to say it's going to be completely between these front 5, but it's going to be very likely that it will be between those front 5.
Speaking of the front 5 right now, the point standings right now, as it stands, Jeff Ward has the potential to possibly clinch the championship here in the Asphalt Assault Series. Leads by 30 points over Jose Gonzalez and by 41 over Scott Simley, who sits third in points. The number one, Thomas J. George, rides in fourth in points, 54 points back of Jeff Ward. And Christopher Hurlow in the 07 rides fifth in points, 63 points behind Jeff Ward. And pretty much it's safe to say with the smaller field here tonight, Jacob, Jeff Ward really set to really clinch the Asphalt Assault Series championship.
It's not done. He's going to have to leave this with a 48-point gap tonight over everybody. If he leaves with a 48-point gap over second, he clinches the title no matter what anybody else does because of the wins. He basically owns all tiebreakers. So it's not unfeasible to think that he won't do it tonight, but it's surely not going to be the easiest thing in the world, and it's just that's going to be the thing we're going to be watching. If Ward goes out, wins the race, and everybody else has kind of a subpar night, that's exactly what we're likely going to see.
1.5 minutes left in the qualifying session. Still Jeff Ward up on top of the provisional poll. No changes yet through your top five right now. Several drivers still on track right now. Several drivers in that 40.2 second bracket, starting with the fifth place car of Christopher Hurlow in the 07, all the way down to the 10th spot of Paul Williams in the 88, who is right now taking a ride through the infield here at the Michigan International Speedway here in Brooklyn. Kind of dies his way through victory lane. There's several drivers yet to take time in the qualifying session. The 72 of David Camara, who's not on track at the moment, still sits without a qualifying time. And I do believe the 2 of J. Randall Watkins has joined the server tonight. He is sitting 17th right now. No qualifying time in the server either, along with the 41 of Jared Como and the 23 of John Klickner. These drivers need to make their way off pit road right now if they have any chance at getting to the start-finish stripe before the red and black flag waves here in the qualifying session. So several drivers right now, Brian, going to be a hard task for anybody sitting in the back of the pack, like say Doug Roth, Thomas Lattimore, to really put in a good lap to really get up there with Jeff Ward.
Yeah, I don't know. They're certainly not going to have time to get back out there and make something happen now. As Thomas Lattimore is actually on pit road now, it does not look like he's going to attempt another lap. Same with Doug Roth. He's flipping off turn 4, so he's not going to be able to put up a better lap. And for these guys that elected not to qualify, I think this is a strategy move on their part. They must have seen something in practice, and it's going to be extremely interesting to see how they work this. This is a long race tonight, so they have plenty of time to try to get up through the field. They have 90 laps to go from the back and try to make something happen. And like Jacob mentioned earlier, if it's a really messy race, if we have a lot of cautions, that might be the right place to be. Hang in the back, avoid the wrecks, and then steal a good finish towards the end of this race, and maybe put yourself in a position to go after the win and try to steal one away from Jeff Ward.
Red and black flag waving, just 10 seconds left before we roll it over to the grid, Brian. And Jeff Ward going to take your pole with a 40.092 second lap around the 2-mile Michigan International Speedway. Anthony DeBarro going to come home in the second spot in the qualifying session, along with the 14 of Scott Simley, rounding out your top 3 in tonight's podium. And with that said, it is time now for your starting grid. And up front, the aforementioned number 9 Unical 76 Chevrolet of Jeff Ward is starting outside of him on the front row. The number 46 Race Chaser Online, Speed 77 Radio, Performance Motorsports Network Chevrolet, Anthony DeBarro.
Starting in row number 2 in the third position is Scott Simley in the number 14 Ford Mustang. To his outside, Dwayne Vincent in the number 13. He's starting in the fourth position.
Inside, row number 3, in the number 07, similarly sponsored car to the 46 and Anthony DeBarro, is going to be the number 07 of Christopher Hurlow. Is starting outside of him in the 6th spot with a qualifying time of 40.208 seconds. In the number 26 Puerto Rican Meatball Machine, it's going to be Jose Gonzalez.
Starting in the 7th position is driver of the number 87, that's Anthony Palumbo, and to his outside, driving the Pepsi Camaro tonight, he's in the number 1 car, it's Thomas George, starting position number 8.
Inside, row number 5, starting 9th in the TaxSlayer.com Chevrolet, going to be the 88 of Paul Williams II, and outside of him in the Valvoline Chevrolet, the 21 of Chad Cole.
Starting in the 11th position is the number 91 of Greg Omo. To his outside, Thomas Lattimore, starting in the number 03, starting 12th.
Inside, row number 7 in the 13th spot in the STP number 43 with HitBeastPaintShop.com. Alongside that ride, that Chevy is driven by Doug Roth, and starting outside of him is the last car to take time in the qualifying session, starting 14th with John Hanna Jr. designs on the hood and along the quarter panels of that machine. That's Wyatt Wolf.
The drivers that elected to not qualify tonight, starting 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, we have David Kamara in the 72, J. Randall Watkins in the number 2, John Klickner in the number 23, and Jared Como in the number 41.
Guys just getting ready to roll off on the grid right now as the pace car rolls away. Several drivers actually leaving the server, finding issues with their cars tonight. One of them involved is the 23 machine of John Klickner, has left the server for the evening here. And Brian, it's really going to be a race of who's really going to, stay up front here and really get out in that clean air, because the clean air is going to really reign supreme. But then again, as you alluded to, during the practice session and during the qualifying session, really throttle control is going to be huge in these cars.
Well, there's certainly going to be a lot to learn tonight. These guys, as we've already kind of talked about, they are racing with a new build, with a new tire model, a new draft model. There's a lot of different things going on with these cars tonight, so they're all going to be learning about what this car is going to do tonight. I don't think any of us really know for sure exactly how this race is going to go. They are going to have to really test the waters here in the beginning stages of this race and then go after it later on in the race.
We're getting set to roll, headed towards turn number 3, gentlemen. And of course, as always, I'm glad to be back and definitely ready to roll for another Asphalt Assault round. Again, the penultimate round after tonight, just one race remaining. Jeff Ward looking to lock it up tonight, but still a lot can happen over the course of 90 laps. Off of turn number 4 in that iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car, going to make its way onto pit road, field in the hands of Jeff Ward and Anthony DeBarro. And as we're rolling on LSRTV, we're also putting the American Ethanol green flag in the air. We're underway here in Michigan.
Jeff Ward getting out to a great start there as the 46 of Anthony Navarro now gets down to the inside and stops the advance of the 14 Budweiser Chevrolet of Scott Simley in third. Dwayne Vincent looks to follow suit in that Napa Chevrolet as well in the 4th spot. Jose Gonzalez in the 5th spot as well. All single file up through the top 5 here. First battle for position on the racetrack right now. Going to involve the 88 and the 87. That's going to be Anthony Palumbo in that Goodwrench ride, along with the 88 of the Tax Slayer Chevrolet. Paul Williams second, and Paul Williams looking about a lane lower or so on the racetrack right now, coming out of turn number 4. Not going to be able to get much of an advance there, and just up ahead of them, the 21 of Chad Cole is looking to get around the 1 of Thomas George, who also dives down to the bottom, also setting their sights up ahead on Jose Gonzalez, who's getting freight trained right now by the 07, the 1, the 21. Several drivers trying to get around that number 26 here in the early stages here at Michigan.
As they come up off turn 2, Jose Gonzalez is going to try to slot in line behind Christopher Hurlow. He's able to do so. Thomas George gave him the room to get in line, so he's going to do that. And now he's going to make the crossover move and go to the inside of Christopher Hurlow as they go off into turn number 3. He's going to try to make the pass and clear him as they go through 3 and 4. Right now, it looks like he's going to be able to do it. He does. He clears Christopher Hurlow. Now he brings Thomas George and Chad Cole along with him as they come off turn 4 down to the start-finish line.
2, almost 3 wide now on the front straightaway. It's going to be almost 3 wide. Jack Cole thinks better of going up the middle there to try to shoot the gap between the 1 of Thomas George and the 07 of Christopher Hurlow. Cole thinking better of it, rolls out of the throttle, but that's almost going to cost him, because that allows Anthony Palumbo now to start thinking which lane he wants to go in, as the 07 of Christopher Hurlow now clears the 21 of Jack Cole on the high side out of 2 and on the back straightaway. Everybody getting up single file right now, but up front it is all Jeff Ward leading all 2 laps so far. Going to make it 3 this time by at the Michigan International Speedway. DeBarro's trying to do everything he can, but these two have pulled out over a half a second, almost 3/4 of a second now, over the 14 of Scott Simley as they start to head off towards 1.
Yeah, and as they head off into turn 1, it's the same story we have called for the last several weeks. It's Jeff Ward and Anthony DeBarro out front, and they are starting to pull away from the rest of the field, as you mentioned. Scott Simley's trying to hang on back there in the third position, but he's starting to lose touch with them, falling back to Dwayne Vincent as they go down the back straightaway. Dwayne Vincent looks like he might think about trying to make a move off into turn 3. So far, he thinks better of it. Meanwhile, back behind them in the number 21, Chad Cole is starting to try to make a move. He is to the inside and actually clears Christopher Hurlow as they go through 3 and 4, and they come to the start-finish line. Now he sets his sights on Thomas George.
Thomas George now looking to the inside of the Puerto Rican meatball machine. Got balls along the side of that number 26 Chevrolet of Jose Gonzalez, who rides second in points behind Jeff Ward. And Jeff Ward going to have to find some trouble here tonight if he has really any shot to allow somebody else a shot at this title in the Asphalt Assault Series, presented by Inside Sim Racing. George now working all over the back deck lid of that number 26 machine, going off into turn number 3. These guys trying to do what they can to really kind of get an advantage on one another. And George looks like he's trying to back up the corner a little bit, Brian, and he's trying to really get that big run and use the draft out of 4.
Yeah, he's doing exactly what I expected a lot of these drivers to do. He's just kind of feeling the car out, trying to figure out what this car is going to do. He's not really sure what it's going to be, and he wasn't that fast in practice. I was looking at that, and he was 8th fastest in practice, and he qualified in the 8th position, so he really didn't have the speed that we're used to seeing Thomas George have. So I'm sure he's a little uncomfortable with that car and is just trying to figure it out right now in the early stages of this race. He's got 90 laps, and I'm sure that by the end of this race he'll be up front. And like you said, he's just kind of trying different things. He's backing the corner up and just trying different ways to take the car through the corner to see what works best right now so that he can try to make something happen later on in the race.
One driver a little bit uncomfortable right now is going to be right up at the front of the field. Anthony DeBarro laying the wood to the number 9 of Jeff Ward as they come across the stripe right now. DeBarro all over the back end of that Unical Chevrolet as they sail off into turn number 1. DeBarro looking on the high side, trying to apex the corner a little bit differently than Jeff Ward, who's kind of running in that second lane, as DeBarro now gets right up on the back deck lid, and Jeff Ward in the wall out of 2. Trouble for the number 9.
Yeah, that was exactly what Jeff Ward did not need to see here. He's trying to lock up the championship, and he had contact on the wall on lap number 7 right there as they go through 3 and 4 now. Anthony DeBarro has taken the lead. They are now fighting possibly 3 wide for second as they come off turn number 4. They are 3 wide. It is the number 14 of Scott Simley, Dwayne Vincent, and Jeff Ward. Jeff Ward looks like he's going to let those two settle it out amongst the two of them. Dwayne Vincent to the inside of Scott Simley as they go off into turn number 1, trying to take the second position away and then set his sights on Anthony DeBarro.
Trouble striking Jeff Ward again on lap number 7, just this last time by out of turn number 2, and Dwayne Vincent right now on the bottom. Scott Simley out of turn number 2. Jeff Ward fighting back now right along that back bumper, the number 13 of Dwayne Vincent, as these two drag race down into turn number 3, and Simley still kind of holds the advantage on the high side, and Dwayne Vincent now fighting back on the bottom side, drifts up, kind of almost completes a dirt track slide job across the nose of that number 14 of Scott Simley, but Jeff Ward still staying strong in that number 9. Now he fights to the inside of Scott Simley, sailing off now towards 1.
And as he goes off into turn 1, so far it does not look like the damage has hurt his car too terribly bad. It's going to be interesting to see as they settle in here. He's still side by side with the 14 of Scott Simley. Thomas George is now starting to move up into the picture here. He's trying to set his sights on the 14 as well, trying to follow his teammate Jeff Ward through. It looks like Scott Simley is actually going to be able to clear Jeff Ward as they go off into turn number 3. He was able to use the draft and pull ahead of him down the straightaway. Now they are single file through 3 and 4 all the way back through the field here. Jeff Ward is trying to get his car back under control and set his sights on 3rd position.
Trouble kind of striking the number 26 of Jose Gonzalez. He's been blinking in and out of the race here for the last couple of laps here as we work lap number 10 of 90 of the Michigan 180 here from the Michigan International Speedway, and Jose's connection kind of settles down a little bit. He's got a little bit of a window, Brian, and I gotta say, with that trouble striking Jeff Ward with the damaged right front fender on that number 9 machine, Jose Gonzalez in the 26 really has an opportunity to capitalize, but he really needs his connection to stay intact.
Yeah, connection issues are something you never want to have to deal with in sim racing. Unfortunately, it does happen, and it causes a lot of problems when they do have them, but I'm sure that he also realizes that Jeff Ward has had some early issues here in this race. He can't afford to let this cost him a shot at this championship. He needs to take advantage of the issues that Jeff has had. Jeff Ward does not appear to have the speed that he had at the beginning of this race. He's fallen back to the 4th position, and he has not really made any headway back towards the front here. I don't know that the damage has hurt him too much, but it certainly looks like it might have taken a little bit of speed out of that car.
A little bit of speed is all that you really can afford to lose if you have any prayer of just even finishing top 5 with the caliber of drivers. Several of these drivers you see competing on Monday nights in the Full Throttle Cup Series, and trouble striking one driver early on is the 56 of Wyatt Wolf. Fell out of the server at the start of the race. He's reconnected now, but 3 laps in arrears to the leader, Anthony Nabarro, who's actually starting to gap Dwayne Vincent a little bit, out by about 0.8 of a second the last time by at the end of lap number 11. So Dwayne Vincent starting to come back towards the 14 of Scott Simley as well, coming out of turn number 2. A little bit further behind them, Jeff Ward under attack from the 1 of Thomas J. George. These two teammates from Steel Horse Racing, swap spots now as George now moves up into the 4th spot going into 3.
And as we continue to watch that battle, we're also going to take this opportunity to do a little bit of business in the early going. We'll go side by side and be back with more from Michigan International Speedway. You're watching LSRTV coverage of the RSR Asphalt Assault Series.
Contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Welcome back to LSR TV as we continue rolling through the early stages of the Click It or Ticket Michigan 180 here at the 2-mile Michigan International Speedway just outside of Brooklyn. And we had a lead change while we were away at commercial, 14 laps in, and Dwayne Vincent takes the top spot from Anthony DeBarro and Brian Macklin. DeBarro falling back in a hurry as we saw him get loose once, get loose twice, and the third time was the charm. That car really fighting the handle right now.
Yeah, while we were at commercial, I was listening into their radio, and he is just complaining on the radio nonstop that vehicle is extremely loose and extremely out of control right now, and they're waiting until they can get into a window where they can get him on pit road and try to take the tires and get him back up to speed here. He is really struggling with this car right now, and he is very upset with it. He has fallen all the way back to the 6th position as of right now, and it looks like he's going to continue to fall. He's back there with the pole sitter, Jeff Ward, who has also fallen back pretty badly here in the early stages of this race. It's really kind of interesting to see how badly your two front row sitters have fallen back in the early stages here.
Ward hitting the wall there about on the third lap or so in that number 9 Chevrolet, getting passed now by the 26 Jose Gonzalez. Ward back to 7th after starting on the pole, and this is where the position that Jose really needs to start putting himself in. He's starting to gain points on your leader, Jeff Ward. Is Jeff Ward now back in 7th. The 26 of Gonzalez really needs to start his march to the front here now that his connections really kind of settled down, and he's got his sights set on Anthony Navarro, who almost again nails the wall out of turn number 4 as we come down this time to complete lap number 19 here in the Click It or Ticket 180. Back up front, Dwayne Vincent all out on his lonesome right now, starting to pull away from Scott Simley, who was still there about a couple of car lengths behind him there the last couple times by. That gap now about 4 car lengths now on the back straightaway. Thomas George in the 1, the Pepsi colors on that machine here tonight, not your usual snap-on colors. He's also riding there in 3rd, and he's closing quick on the 14 of Scott Simley as we enter turn number 3, this time by out of turn number 4. Thomas George closes that gap on Simley. It's down to 2 car lengths now on the front straightaway.
It's down to 2 car lengths, and that's the same gap to the race leader, Dwayne Vincent, who has got, it's pretty evenly spaced right now, Justin. The 13 of Vincent, the 14 of Simley, the 1 of George. These 3 have pulled about 5 car lengths on the 21 of Chad Bull, who has moved his way slightly forward now. So the top 4 have really broken away over Anthony Navarro, who settled into that 5th spot, almost 2 seconds in arrears of the race lead. And we continue to watch this battle, and Vincent now starting to stretch it. The battle's going to be for 2nd here as they work off of turn number 4 and back to the start-finish line. Here comes the 14 of Scott Simley, and chased by that 1 of Thomas George. Further back in the pack, Brian, we're 3 wide for position.
Yeah, Jose Gonzalez, Jeff Ward, and Anthony Navarro were just 3 wide off turn 4, trying to sort out that position for the top 5, and right now it looks like Jeff Ward is going to be able to do it. He gets a little loose off turn 2. He's going to give the advantage to Jose Gonzalez as they go down the back straightaway. Anthony Navarro had nowhere to go and was forced to check up so that he didn't run into them, so he lost his momentum. Jose Gonzalez was able to make the pass and moves into the 5th position as they go off into turn number 3 now. He is clear of those 2 behind him.
Clear and through and moving back forward would be the mantra right now. Top 4, though, that's allowed them to really break away. The gap is 2.2 seconds back from Jose Gonzalez all the way to your race leader, Dwayne Vincent, I should say forward rather. So Vincent starting to be hounded, not nearly as much though as the 14 of Simley is. He's got the 1 of Thomas George all over his rear deck lid down the back straightaway. That's the battle for 2nd in turn 3 as George gonna look down to the inside, thinks better of it.
In the center of turns 3 and 4, the 1 of Thomas George in that Pepsi Chevrolet now works to the inside out of 4. It's a dead heat, and it's a drag race to the stripe, folks. George looks like he has the edge coming across the stripe, but he's going to get nipped by Scott Simley, who holds the advantage by about 0.04 of a second now. Going into turn number 1, they're wheel-to-wheel and door-to-door right now in turns number 1 and 2, and it is all a dead heat now out of the back straightaway, Brian, and I'm telling you, George really putting some pressure on Scott Simley in that 14. What do you think the 14 of Simley is really going through, trying to hold on to that spot with somebody experienced like George working on the inside of him?
Well, Scott Simley is no rookie either. He's been around for a while. He's got a lot of experience on the racetrack, so I'm sure he's very comfortable where he's at right now. Thomas George looks like he's going to be able to make the pass, and Scott Simley, I'm sure, being that it's still early in this race, probably didn't race him as hard as he would have if we were, say, 5 laps to go until the end of the race, so he wasn't too worried about it right now. Chad Cole's also going to come through and try to make the pass, and looks like he is going to. He actually does. He clears him and makes the pass for 3rd. So Chad Cole is actually really kind of starting to march his way to the front. He started in the 10th position and is now up to the 3rd position. He is, along with Thomas George, your 2 biggest movers here in the early stages of this race.
And that's going to be the key right now, because as we continue to watch this battle for the lead, Dwayne Vincent, while those 3 were battling, has really stretched the gap out. It's now about 7 car lengths from the Napa number 13 back to that Pepsi number 1 of Thomas George, 0.6 of a second when they come back the line that time. And we are 25 laps complete of 90 here at the Michigan International Speedway, and we'll take a look down at least through the top 10 as they run. Vincent, your leader, George, Cole, and Sibley, the top 4 in your screen. 3 seconds back in that 5th position is the 9 of Jeff Ward, chased at the stripe by Jose Gonzalez, as those two have been battling for that 5th spot for a couple of laps now. Anthony DeBarro rides in 7th, Christopher Hurlow 8th, Paul Williams the 2nd, 9th, and the 43 of Doug Roth rounding out your top 10 as we click off another one. 26 laps complete here in Brooklyn, and Vincent stretches it out, Justin, just a little bit more as they head back to 1. It's now 61 hundredths from he to Thomas George, so the top 2 running pretty comparable lap times, but I really thought that draft would help George a little bit more than it is right now. He's just not able to close.
With a revised draft model, Jacob, I think it's going to be a little hard for these guys to really close in unless Dwayne Vincent starts making mistakes, as Cole really starting to work now all over the back deck rid of that number 1 Pepsi Chevrolet of Thomas George. And on the front straightaway, it's going to be about a half a car length now separating Chad Cole and Thomas George as we start working off towards turn number 1. The 1 of George starts to extend that gap a little bit, drives in a little bit deeper than Chad Cole. But as we come around onto the back straightaway, Jacob, it's looking like that gap's going to close right back up as Chad Cole on the loud pedal, fast and hard on the back straightaway. He closes that gap now. He's back within 1 car length now as they start to sail off towards 3.
And the gap that's really closing is the gap between George and race leader Dwayne Vincent. It was 4 car lengths last time by the stripe. It's down to about 2.5 as they work down the front straightaway this time by the Pepsi Chevrolet is really closing the gap now. It's down to 1/3 of a second. He closed down 1/10 that last time by, and as we work through 1 and 2 this time really quickly, it's going to be a 4-man scramble for the race lead.
It could be a blanket all over the 4 runners up front right now. Scott Simley is just hanging there, kind of biding his time, seeing what the rest of these guys do. As Dwayne Vincent opens up a gap a little bit now, gap about 4 car lengths. George had a little bit of a bobble the last time by through turns number 1 and 2, especially right off the corner there. And Chad Cole's going to try to take advantage of that now, looking at the inside of the number 1. And it's almost side by side there, but Cole kind of thinks better of it. Saw that the 1 at George got a little bit loose and thought it would be wise to go up the track here because Michigan has a relatively steep banked front straightaway, Jacob, and that may lend itself to a little bit of race strategy here as we get down towards the wire here as we work towards the middle stages of this race.
See, that's the key, and Brian, I know you can attest to this. That banking on the front straightaway is really what allows for the 2, 3, sometimes even 4 wide racing that we'll see on the front stretch as we see Chad Cole finally work to the inside of the 1 of Thomas George, move Cole to the 2nd spot behind Dwayne Vincent. And it's the first time I've ever gotten to say this on an RSR broadcast, but this looks like the days of old now, Brian. Vincent versus Cole. How many times have we seen this story play out before?
Well, that is certainly something that we have seen a lot here in RSR over the years, and it's no surprise that at some point we're going to see it, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen it more on Monday nights, and what you were talking about with the long front straightaway, the banking, and then just the fact that these straightaways are so long, it allows for a lot of drafting and a lot of time for these guys to make a move and try to make it 2 and 3 and sometimes even 4 wide, and the corners are wide enough to handle that as well, so as long as the drivers are capable of doing it, then it works out. Thomas George just got really loose off turn number 4 and opens the door for Scott Simley to make a move, and he decides again, as you talked about with Chad Cole, he decides to stay in line behind him here. These 4 have definitely broke away here in the early stages. They have almost a 4.5 second lead over the 5th place driver, Jeff Ward.
And that's going to be the key all night long, is what can Jeff Ward make out of the, not the best night. Right now he's holding on to a top 5 spot. We are now also 1/3 of the way through the Click It or Ticket Michigan 180 here from the Michigan International Speedway, and it's still Dwayne Vincent out front of Chad Cole, Thomas George, Scott Sibley, and Jeff Ward from the Michigan International Speedway. You're watching LSRTV, and as we'll be back with more in just a moment. Oh, wait! Hang on. Trouble. Jeff Ward going to be dropping down the order, and I believe, Justin, he's going to be headed for pit road.
The number 9 of Jeff Ward is on pit road right now. Looks like the right side of that machine is heavily damaged there with the additional damage now to the back end of that number 9. And I tell you what, Jacob, he looked like he creamed that wall there the last time by. He's taking right sides on that machine. The crew going to work, pulling the fenders out from that number 9 Unical 76 Chevrolet. And Jeff Ward has got to be mad at himself for making an uncharacteristic mistake. And Jeff Ward was just telling me last night his focus isn't just on hitting his marks, and tonight I think the pressure of the looming championship is really getting to him.
I will say that I am a little bit shocked, but Brian, I will also say this is the last thing that 9 machine wanted to see. He did not want to give up any points going into this race tonight, and now, even with a short field, you're still giving up a decent handful of points. So, I just don't know. It's going to be a long night.
Yeah, I have been in his shoes as a driver trying to contend for a championship, trying to finish a season out and trying to just, not even necessarily go up there and try to win the race, but just not let your competition beat you. And that was a really unfortunate set of circumstances. He's got the points lead by a very large margin. He can afford a little bit of a loss here tonight, but he can't afford anything major. And right now, he's not in a good position at all. The thing he's got to hope for as a driver is that Jose Gonzalez doesn't go up there and somehow manage to win this race tonight, because then he's really going to close the gap and make things interesting in 2 weeks when we get to the finale.
And with that being said, we'll try this a second time as Dwayne Vincent still leading over Chad Cole, Thomas George. Now you've got Scott Simley and Jose Gonzalez rounding out the top 5. So we'll try to do some business and see if we can't come back to more from the Click It or Ticket Michigan 180 in just a moment. Vincent, your leader here in Michigan.
Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's he going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
cars are lined up on the grid. The Irish.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time.
Welcome back to LSRTV. We are in the middle of a cycle of green flag pit stops. Jacob Seelman, Justin Rosenau, Brian Macklin in the broadcast booth. We're waiting for the leader to hit pit road, but right now it's a top two breakaway. Vincent and Cole, your top two, but more importantly, Justin, we've got the cycle started. Anthony Palumbo and Jeff Ward just got back on the lead lap for making his pit stop a few laps ago. He's trying to hang on to that. The rest trying to get service right near halfway.
One driver hitting pit road is going to be the number 88 TaxSlayer.com Chevrolet of Paul Williams II. He comes down for a full service on that machine. And one driver getting damage repair right now after hitting the wall during the commercial break, going to be the 41 of Jared Como. He hit the wall after an apparent monitor failure on that machine, so we'll have to get an update from him in just a few moments. But leaders still out on the track right now, probably a few laps before their first pit stop.
They're trying to make it happen, Brian. On one pit stop, you go to lap 45, you're good to go till the end of this race, and that looks to be at least what Vincent and Cole are doing right now.
Yeah, Michigan is one of the few tracks where you can come to and almost always expect it to come down to a fuel mileage race. We see that in the Sprint Cup Series every single time they come there, and you're going to see it here tonight as well. And if these guys can run another 1 or 2 laps here, they're going to be able to do it. And the interesting thing here is they also have that extra lap that they had when they were pacing coming around to take the green flag. So really they're going to end up going about 46 laps total. If they can go this far, they're going to make it to the end, and that's really going to hurt Jeff Ward, who was on pit road about 10 laps sooner than everybody else. For him, and for Anthony Palumbo and these other guys that have already been on pit road, they're going to have to hope for a caution once pit stops have cycled through so that they don't have to pit again towards the end of this race.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see where the 9 of Jeff Ward cycles through, Justin, because of the damage on his car right now. I believe we have got couple more on pit road. I think the 03 of Thomas Lattimore going to be one of those that's made the jump down now.
The 03 of Thomas Lattimore, a rookie to the series, made his first start 2 weeks ago and gotten a little bit of a tip with the 48 of Kevin Linden. Leaders on pit road right now. Everybody coming to pit road. All 4 up front right now. The 13 of Vincent, the 21 of Cole, the 14 of Scott Sidley, and the 1 of Thomas George, all hitting pit road right now. They're coming across the stripe right now to complete halfway in the race. Vincent coming down to the attention of his pit crew right now is the 21 of Chad Cole. First to hit his pit box as he started 10th in the race. He actually gets right sides up on that machine right now, getting full service on that machine, and coming back around to the left side on that machine now. Jackman puts it right back up, and it almost looks like the 21 of Chad Cole right now. Looks like he had a little bit of trouble, slid through his pit box, so bad mistake on pit road for the 21 of Cole.
And what that's going to do, very remarkably, is hand the lead, I believe, to the 9 of Jeff Ward. We'll wait for it to cycle through at lap 46, Brian, but you know, the way those 4 came down, I know we joked earlier in the season during one of our Full Throttle Cup Series races on Monday nights about synchronized spinning. Do we call that synchronized pitting? I mean, that was almost perfect, and none of them are teammates up there in the top 4. That's 4 different teams represented in the top 4 spots.
No, they're not teammates, but they've raced with each other for quite a while now, and I'm sure they've become familiar with how each other gets on and off pit road, and I feel like they all felt very comfortable with that. And as the leaderboard does cycle around, Jeff Ward is going to take the race lead back. He is now shown as the leader by 1.5 seconds over Anthony Palumbo and 5.4 over Dwayne Vincent. But once again, he's going to have to come back to pit road before this race is over. So he is not in the right position right now. He may be leading, and what this is going to do for him is allow him to lead some extra laps, and maybe he can try to pick up that most laps led bonus and get an extra bonus point towards the championship.
That's about all you can do at this point if you're the 9 of Jeff Ward. You know you're going to give up some fraction of points tonight. It's all going to be a question of how you can minimize the damage. But as we work lap 47 and put that in the books right now, since we pitted it halfway, we will now go through a midway race break here from the Michigan International Speedway. And as we document it, out front the 9 of Jeff Ward, second the 87 Anthony Palumbo, Third is Dwayne Vincent after the round of stops. And fourth is Scott Simley. Thomas George right now rounding out the top 5. Doug Roth is 6th. Paul Williams the second, 7th. Chad Cole, after sliding through his pit stall, gave up a ton of time to fall 11 seconds behind the race lead and 6 seconds behind Dwayne Vincent. He rides 8th. Jose Gonzalez is 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Justin, is Thomas Lattimore.
In the 11th spot is going to be the 07 of Christopher Hurlow, 26 seconds in arrears of Jeff Ward. The 46 of Anthony Navarro riding 12, 29 seconds back of race leader Jeff Ward. And the first car 1 lap down on the racetrack right now. The 91 of Greg Olmo in 13th and 14th spot is going to be the 56, 4 laps down. That's Wyatt Wolf Jr. and right behind him about 11 laps. Finally getting damage repairs complete on that machine. Now entering the racetrack going to be the 41 of Jared Como, and 1 car is still sitting on pit road left in the race right now in 16th spot, 41 laps down, the 23 of John Clickturner.
That's a look at your full field rundown here with now 49 of 90 laps complete, and presented by the Michigan Department of Transportation. And of course, tonight the Click It or Ticket Michigan 180, reminding you to buckle up from all our friends at the Michigan International Speedway. Jeff Ward extending that gap now over Anthony Palumbo. It is 2.7 seconds from the 9 back to the 87. Dwayne Vincent cut into it a little bit. It's 5.2. Then Scott Simley and Thomas George. We're going to do a little bit of business, and Jeff Ward, now with damage repaired to his number 9 machine, is starting to see if he can run away. It's all going to come down to the pit strategy. We'll be back with more in a moment. Ward, your leader in the Click It or Ticket 180 from Michigan International Speedway. You're watching LSRTV in the RSR Asphalt Assault Xfinity Series.
Contact made, 56 slides in at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The RSR World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn 1 for the first time.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations.
Welcome back to LSRTV as we continue to roll through what so far has been a caution-free Click It or Ticket Michigan 180 from the Michigan International Speedway, and Jeff Ward, the 9 car, holding a 3.5 second lead over the Napa Chevrolet of Dwayne Vincent, who's trying to run him down, but on strategy, Jeff Ward, because of damage repairs earlier in this race, will have to make another pit stop, and Dwayne Vincent right now looks to be in the catbird seat as we welcome you back inside the broadcast tower. Jacob Seelman, Justin Rosenau, Brian Macklin here for LSRTV as we count down, coming up on the final 30 laps of tonight's 180-mile event, and the gap chopped by another 4/10 last time by. So Justin, I would have to imagine that with about 15 or so lap older tires, Jeff Ward is about to lose the speed in that number 9 car. The Unical 76 machine going to be falling right into Vincent's hands, I imagine, pretty quickly.
Yeah, and noticing the lap times that Jeff Ward ran out of the pits, yeah, he ran some really, really fast laps, but at the toll of his tires, he's really going to start to pay the price now as he's yielding some 3.5 to 4/10 of a second there, as Dwayne Vincent right now actually takes 8/10 of a second that last time by, as the 9 of Jeff Ward had to work around the lap machine, the 91 of Greg Olmo, that time by to put him 1 lap down once again. So Dwayne Vincent on the charge hard and fast, but he's also got to worry about that 14 of Scott Simley, who's starting to reel in the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, as well as Simley in third, really starting to close that gap now on that Napa Chevrolet right in front of him.
He is. Vincent, he knew, Brian, that eventually Ward would come back to him. He knew he didn't have to push to chase him down. It was just a matter of time before Jeff would start to fall off, and he knew he was going to have to make a pit stop anyways. So Dwayne knew he's basically racing the 14 of Scott Simley at this point. 6 car lengths between the two of them, and it's 1.8 seconds. So very, very quickly, Jeff Ward is going to lose this lead, and I imagine before too long we're actually going to see him on pit road.
Yeah, I did the calculations while we were under commercial, and the longest that we could see him stay out there is going to be to lap 78. That would be 46 laps from when he pitted on lap 32, and I think you'll see him stay out there as long as possible, hoping for a caution, because at this point that's his only hope to get back into this race for the win, is to have a caution to bunch everybody back up and get them all on pit road at the same time. If we don't get that, him and the 87 are the only two that are going to have to make another set of pit stops here. The rest of these guys are going to be clean and green to the end, so he's hoping for a caution. As for Dwayne Vincent, as you said, he knew he wasn't going to have to race him, so he's doing what he has to do to keep the 14 behind him. He's not running the car overly hard. He's saving some for the end of the race, and he's not going to push the issue until he absolutely has to. And right now he's closed it into less than 1.5 seconds on Jeff Ward, so in the next 2 or 3 laps we're going to see a change for the lead.
And how big would this be, Justin, if Dwayne Vincent ultimately holds on to win this race? Because that 13 machine in all 3 series this season has been so close to a win, and just hasn't been able to get it done. We keep waiting, and even though it's not a Monday night race, tonight may finally be the night where all the cards fall his way, and I know if he can make it happen, it's going to be a pretty fun Victory Lane celebration.
You certainly say that, and the monkey was at least partially removed from the back of the driver, the number 13 Napa Chevrolet. Dwayne Vincent took home the victory in the first annual Captain Herb Memory Memorial you see here on LSRTV on Sunday night. And Jeff Ward to pit road right now. He's going to come down to the attention of his pit crew, get full service on that machine, and get back out on the racetrack, and hopefully not lose a lap this time.
Hopefully not, but you have to imagine he's going to have to be really quick on the draw. So Vincent, with 62 laps complete, takes over the lead, and Jeff Ward, we're going to cover the stop right here as we watch him pull all the way down to the end of pit road and comes right down to the attention of his pit crew in that number 1 pit stall. Right side's going up on the number 9 of Ward, and they'll make quick work and slide around. It's just going to be a 2-tire change. He's trying to make sure he doesn't lose the lead lap. Ward down and away, Justin. The question's going to be, is that the difference? It looks like he's at least going to hang on to the lead lap for now as he's away. He can't blend till he gets to the back straightaway, though.
Almost loses control of the machine, had to get out of the throttle big time there, as he may receive a penalty. His right tire has got to cross that yellow line. We'll have to see if race control is going to call that a failed blend there. We'll have to wait a few moments for that, but as we say that, Jeff Ward is starting to get back up to speed, and that number 9 is going to stay on the lead lap, but he's going to fall all the way back to the tail end of the lead lap. And he actually almost gets into the wall there. The handling on that number 9, just not what it used to be, especially on that 2-tire pit stop. Ward is in big trouble right now. He's going to start to lose valuable points to the 26 of Jose Gonzalez and the 14 of Scott Sibley.
The catch is right now, it's only 4 positions, but 3 points, because Ward has led a lap that Jose Gonzalez has not. And that, that's going to be a big key to all this, because you minimize that to 3 points, you still put yourself in a brilliant position headed to the finale here in 2 weeks' time. So Jeff Ward right now is doing everything like we said to minimize the damage, Brian, and that's so important in a championship fight. You minimize the damage, do everything you can do to at least quell the bleeding, and that's what that 9 team's done here tonight.
Indeed, that's exactly what he's done, and that's exactly what he needed to do. When they had their issue early on in the race and he got into the wall and he hurt the car, they did not panic, and that's what championship teams do. They don't panic when something bad happens. That's why we see guys like Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson consistently go up there and be a threat for the championship. That's why Jeff Ward is as strong as he is and wins so many races, because they don't let something bad ruin their race. They turn it around and they still make something happen. And like you said, he's only going to give up 3 or 4 points at best unless Jose Gonzalez finds a way to really start moving up through the field. And that still, like you said, keeps him in a very good position to still hold on to this championship as they get into the finale in 2 weeks. The 2-tire call was a championship move right there, because it's going to keep him on the lead lap. And if a caution comes out in these next 23 laps, he's got a shot to get back up there and still gain some points out of this.
That is the catch, and I just am beginning to wonder if we're really going to see a caution at this point, Justin. I mean, the flow of this race, you just don't think it's going to happen. There's not enough cars, and there's really not enough close racing right now to be able to make it happen. So I just don't know.
I highly doubt that it's going to happen, and with everybody strung out with such a small field here tonight, only 16 cars in the server tonight, and several of them already out of the race. The newest one to join them, the 87 of Anthony Palumbo, out of the race as well. So 3 cars retired out of the race, 13 cars left on the racetrack right now. Jeff Ward about to go a lap down. He's running about 0.4 of a second slower than your leader Dwayne Vincent in the 13, and the 91 of Greg Olmo is right behind him, just behind the leaders a little bit. He's about 4 or 5 seconds behind the 9 of Jeff Ward, so that may be another point lost if Jeff Ward loses that position to that 91. And Jacob, you say 1 point here, 1 point there, but you have to wonder if that 2-tire pit stop's going to cost him that point that he's trying to gain by staying out in front of Vincent.
The question, though, is really going to be, Justin, are we going to have enough cars when we get to the gap, when we get to the finale in 2 weeks? Are we going to have a big enough field for, even a 25 or 26 point gap to be erased? That's going to be the key. The key is not going to be whether Jeff Ward is capable of hanging on to the gap, whatever gap he's presented with when we get to the final race here in 2 weeks' time. The key is going to be how many cars are available, and if we don't have a big enough field for anybody to touch him, it'll come down to just taking that green flag.
It very well could be, but as we say that, Scott Simley's starting to take a little bit of a chunk out of Dwayne Vincent's lead right now. The gap down inside is 0.6 of a second, so about 6-7 car lengths right now on the back straightaway. Simley running a little bit better. Dwayne Vincent got a little bit loose there out of turn number 2 the last time by, coming around this time by to make it 20 laps to go here in the Click It or Ticket 180 at the Michigan International Speedway. Vincent closing in on the 9 of Jeff Ward, and really Jacob, my projection for the reason why we have such a small field this week is just the fact that it's a new build. Drivers still trying to get used to the feel of the cars, and really didn't want to spoil it for somebody like Jeff Ward, who really is out there battling for a championship. And Ward, a victim of misfortune last Monday night here on LSRTV at Pocono, getting caught up in a 4-car wreck early in the race, but recovered to finish inside the top 10. So Ward determined, but doesn't want a repeat of what happened Monday night.
He absolutely does not. And as we continue to roll, we are now down inside our LSRTV 20 to go as we come to the start-finish line. It will be 70 of 90 laps complete, and we will go through our 20 to go here in just a moment, but also want to remind you that tonight's race broadcast is supported by the National Highway Safety Administration and the Click It or Ticket campaign. So we remind you to buckle up and, as the DOT says, click it or ticket. So from the Michigan International Speedway, down inside the final 20 laps, Dwayne Vincent has led since lap 62, and Dwayne Vincent just got loose. Battle for the lead off turn number 4, and this is going to make our 20 to go a little bit more interesting because Scott Sibley just goes to the point, Justin, and changes up the top 5.
Simley made a slingshot move around the 9 of Jeff Ward, who ducked out of the way, and critical mistake for the driver, that number 13 Napa Chevrolet here in the Asphalt Assault Series, Dwayne Vincent. Out front right now, gap stabilized right now at about 0.4 of a second, so I'll give it a take about 4 and 4.5 car lengths or so. And Simley not really able to really close that gap anymore, but Simley doing everything he can, but it's really just Dwayne Vincent's race to lose right now. But if he makes one more mistake, you can bet that Budweiser Ford of Scott Simley going to be all over the back end of that Napa Chevrolet, especially as we get towards the late stage of the race. You're approaching 16, 17 laps to go here.
That's what I get. Vincent and For once, Jeff Ward is trying to play off Dwayne Vincent. He could have used some speed. Those two cars do look very similar tonight. And, you know, though, the way that slingshot pass went, I almost thought that Simley was going to have such a run that there was going to be no choice for Dwayne to get out of the way, though, the way the 14 was coming. So that's what threw me off there for a second, Justin. But, you know, hey, that's about the most excitement I can inject into this because, you know, with now coming to 16 laps to go, not a whole lot of question. It's going to be between these two. The question is now going to be, with that shuffle, does Scott Sibley have anything left to make another move to try and get Dwayne Vincent? He tried it once when Vincent made the slingshot there and nearly broke his own momentum, but the catch is going to be now with 15 to go. Does he have enough steam left in the tank to make something happen?
We'll certainly find out. The last time by, Scott Simley took just 7 thousandths out of Dwayne Vincent's lead right now. 40.95 for Dwayne Vincent last time by, and 40.943 for Scott Simley in the 14. We'll get the update for you as they come out of turn number 4 this time by to make it 15 laps to go here in the Click It or Ticket 180 in the Irish Hills, Michigan at the Michigan International Speedway here. Round 7, the penultimate round of the Asphalt Assault Series presented by Inside Sim Racing. And Vincent right now extends that gap by over 1/10 of a second there as Scott Simley starting to fade in that Budweiser Ford.
He is starting to fade, and we're going to do one final bit of business, and we'll go side by side so you won't miss anything. Dwayne Vincent pulling away from Scott Simley with 14 laps to go from Michigan International Speedway. This is RSR and the Asphalt Assault Xfinity Series. Welcome back to LSRTV. 9 laps remaining from the Michigan International Speedway, and the lead battle is heating up in the final stages. I said before we went to break that Scott Simley got the lead. He didn't get the lead, for those of you who were really paying shrewd attention, but he's trying to get it now. This time by, we'll have 82 complete, 8 laps to go, and he's been consistently, Justin Rosenau, a quarter tenth to a half tenth quicker, and visibly you can see it. It's down to 4 car lengths as they cross the line.
Takes another couple of hundredths out of Dwayne Vincent's lead, and Dwayne Vincent's really up on the wheel. He's really sawing at that thing right now. Car a little bit loose getting into the corner. He's really trying to drive it deep in there as Simley backs up the corner a little bit. It's down to 3 car lengths now on the back straightaway, coming around this time by to be 7 laps to go here at Michigan, and Simley trying to do everything he can. Another deep entry by the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. Simley backs his corner up a little bit, rolls it through the center a little bit better. It's about 2.5 car lengths now out of 4, 7 to go at Michigan.
Brian, if you're Dwayne Vincent, what's going through your mind right now, knowing that Scott's showing a little bit more speed and you're trying to hang on to it? You know he's going to get there, but how do you hold him off?
Number one, you don't look at the mirror. You take it off and throw it in the floor. You don't want to look out that mirror because it's going to mess you up and make you make more mistakes. So that if you're the spotter, if you're his crew chief, you're telling him, don't even look at it. I'll do the work for you. I'll be your mirror. You just focus on your driving. This is a very tense position for any driver when you're getting down to the closing laps of the race and you know you've got somebody behind you that's running you down, and all you can do is just hit your marks and try to run the laps as cleanly as possible and hope that they make a mistake and that they aren't able to get to you. But so far, Scott Simley just keeps chipping away at it, and if he keeps it up, he's going to get there before this thing is over.
Dwayne extended it back out that time by about 3/100ths. So we're now 6 laps to go. And Justin, this could be, Dwayne may have finally seen how close Scott was getting and said, okay, no more of this. So we're down to it. It's going to be 5 to go when they come back to the start-finish line. It's going to be tight.
Simley made a mistake out of 2 that last time by, just before he handed it off to me there, and that's what cost him a couple hundredths there the last time by on 6 to go, coming around this time by 5 laps to go now at Michigan, and that gap's starting to shrink a little bit. It's about 2.5 car lengths now at the start-finish line. Simley on the offensive right now, really trying to put it to the 13 Napa Chevrolet of Dwayne Vincent. Simley riding the high side right now. He's running about a half a lane higher on entry, and that's really allowing him to roll the center of the corner a lot better than the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, but you really can't count the old KG veteran Dwayne Vincent out right now. He's up on that wheel. He's really giving it all he can, and right now that gap's starting to extend a little bit. It's back to about 3 car lengths now in 3, coming around this time by Jacob. It's going to be 4 to go as they come out of 4.
Now, you're discounting Scott Simley a little bit. Isn't he an old KG veteran too? I mean, he's been at this a little while himself.
Yeah, it could be, but Simley just takes almost a half a tenth that time by, as we're 4 to go now, as Simley now riding about a half a lane higher, just like I said that last time by. He's kind of doing the same thing he's been doing, really working his marks right now. That gap, 2 car lengths now out of turn number 2, and Vincent almost put the right rear of that machine into the fence, and the back straightaway is maybe just trying to squeeze every last inch out of the racetrack. You almost have to be inch perfect when you got somebody like Scott Simley, who does very well in these B cars, breathing down your neck. 3 laps to go this time by Jacob. That gap is slowly shrinking, should be about 3/10 at the stripe.
It is slowly shrinking. The problem is, I think Scott may run out of time at this point, and actually it stayed identical. 0.356 as they head back to turns 1 and 2. 2.5 laps to go when they go down the back straightaway, Brian, and these two are in lockstep formation.
Yeah, these are 2 of the best and probably cleanest drivers in this sim, and they know how to get the job done. They're both hitting their marks perfectly, and they're running identical lap times, as we've already seen that, so they're doing an incredible job. Scott Simley is giving it everything he's got, trying to close in on him. He's running out of time, though. 2 laps to go when they get to the line, and he's going to have to make something happen big time now if he wants to get there.
Double popsicle sticks in the air when they cross the stripe. They head for 1, and the gap is shrinking a little bit more now. Simley drove it in a little bit harder into turns 3 and 4 last time by. Made up some time. He tried to do the same thing in 1 and 2.
Simley gets a better run on the back straightaway. It's about 2 car lengths now. Simley getting that draft effect with that Budweiser Ford, trying to catch that Napa Chevrolet of Dwayne Vincent, coming into 3 right now. Gap about 2.5 car lengths. Simley trying to run about a half lane lower. May cost him a little time as the white flag now waving in the air.
Bailout.
Leader Dwayne Vincent right now. Bailout by the number 14. Hits the apron of the racetrack, trying to gain every inch he can on the racetrack. He takes a couple more hundredths now, but it's white flag in the air. Vincent sails it off big time in 1.
This is going to be the key right here. What do you do off turn 2? The momentum's going to carry one of these drivers to victory lane. Down the back straightaway for the final time tonight. And amazingly, we're going to go green to checker to turn 3. Simley pitches it hard into the corner for the final time, but he is not going to have enough momentum to get there. And for Dwayne Vincent, the drought will be over in the Irish Hills. Down to the flag stand. Dwayne Vincent finally going to win in RSR this season. Checkered flag. He takes it at Michigan. Scott Simley coming home in second, just a couple of car lengths short at the line, a quarter second the difference. Thomas George third, Chad Cole fourth, and Jose Gonzalez fifth. The gap unofficially is going to be what I believe 20, either 26 or 27 points. We'll check on it in a minute. But it's going to be a gap where we're going to need a decent field in 2 weeks' time at Homestead, Justin, to make it happen. Jeff Ward has put himself in a great position right now.
He certainly did. He did everything he could to hold off Doug Roth and Greg Omo, who were actually starting to breathe down his neck a little bit there as the checkered flag come out. Ward salvaging a top 10, albeit 1 lap down to your winner, Dwayne Vincent. Jeff Ward pretty much just has to start next week if it's a field just like what we see here tonight.
And I'm surprised no post-race celebration for Dwayne either. I expected a burnout, but he took it right to the pit lane. So we'll see and hear from the driver of the Napa Chevrolet in just a moment. When we come back, it's going to be the LSRTV post-race show. Dwayne Vincent, your winner. And we'll be back from Michigan International Speedway in just a moment.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to LSRTV as we are going to roll, and it's time for the RSR post-race show for round 7 of 8 in the Asphalt Assault Xfinity Series. Jacob Seelman, Justin Rosenau, and Brian Macklin headed down to pit road to chat with our podium here tonight. Dwayne Vincent taking the win, but more importantly right now as we get set to go trackside in just a moment, I believe somewhere down in pit road, Brian Macklin, you've caught up with the one of Thomas George coming home third tonight.
Sporting a new paint, our sponsor, and some new colors tonight. Thomas George with that Pepsi Chevrolet Camaro tonight. You got a third place finish. How difficult was it for you to go out there with a new build, a new aero model, a new draft model, new tire, new everything basically since iRacing updated this week, and put together a 90-lap race and not make any mistakes? How difficult was that?
Wasn't too bad. After practicing a little bit earlier today, car was a bit of a handful at the start of a run, but about 10 to 20 laps in, it started coming towards me. But then we ended up having to play the fuel mileage game, and I don't know how the heck Dwayne and Scott were able to save that much fuel while pulling away from me. I was having to clutch it in the corner, and I guess I wasn't letting roll enough or something. So, but I'll take it. I gotta take a third. I'll be happy. I'm happy with that, and especially with the new build, and hopefully we carry that momentum to Monday night here.
Yeah, and talking about Monday night, what do you expect the cars to do in the Full Throttle Cup Series on Monday? We know that the cars are handling a little bit differently here with the Asphalt Assault Series. What do you expect the Cup car to do when we head here on Monday night?
Because the age of the track of Michigan that we have, and the less downforce that we have coming in here on the rear, I would expect it's going to probably be just like tonight. It's going to be loose, and then as the run goes on, you're going to see the center of the corner get tight, and it's going to be tight to where if you're turning the wheel too much, it'll whip around. So I expect it to do a bit of the same. Hopefully it's not as twitchy as what a lot of people have been saying it's going to be, because that thing is damn near undrivable if you're not careful with it. So I think it'll fix it, and then I think it's going to race like tonight was, and I don't know if it's going to be a fuel mileage race again. Depends on the circumstances.
Well, and as we alluded to in the broadcast booth, Michigan does typically end up as a fuel mileage race, so it'll be interesting, like you said, to see what happens on Monday night. As for you, any sponsors or friends, any shout-outs you need to make here tonight before we let you go?
Just thank everybody at LSR for putting this on, RSR for doing the sessions, all the sponsors I carry. Pepsi's more or less a one-off for this series. I felt like bringing it on. It kept me awake tonight, that's for sure. And all the guys at Steel Horse, and Jeff, I feel bad that he got that damage, but he managed to bring it home in 10th, so he keeps that point lead and going into the final race at Homestead, not to mention the overall series. Hopefully he can pull out the championship in both.
All right, and that was your third place finisher, Thomas George. He brought it home in third, and now we are going to move a little bit further down pit road, where I believe Justin Rosenau has caught up with our second place finisher.
Alongside the driver, the number 14 Budweiser Ford, Scott Stenzel. You got really close there, and did you just really come up about a lap or two short, or did you really make a couple critical mistakes there towards the end? Sorry, Scott Simley. Sorry for butchering the name there, man. Tell me, did you just make a critical mistake there, or did you really need another lap or two to really get around Dwayne?
No, it just seemed to flatten out once I finally caught him. I mean, you get that 30, 35 laps, and it started to tighten up on me, and it seemed like I was reeling him in a little bit. I mean, I'm talking a little bit, but I get that between 3 and 6/10 off of him, and it's just like that air it's just like a wall. It just slowed me back down. But I tried to push as much as I can, but you had to, with the fuel, I could just barely make it on fuel too. The way it was looking, I was about almost 0.8 of a gallon left over at the end, but just wasn't sure for sure what that was going to work out at.
You've really been such a stalwart here in the B car. Do you have anything to really knock down Jeff Ward next week? Is he made a mistake here tonight, but do you really think you can make the improvements needed to really go get him and steal a win at the last race here in 2 weeks?
I know Jeff's tough, man. Every week he's tough. It don't matter what he drives, what he's in. He's dominant. So we'll give it our all. Try to get some practice in and see if we can get him.
Scott, you really gave it one whale of a run in that number 14, and really, who's responsible for helping you get out here and doing what you do from week in and week out?
My teammates in the Wolf Pack, ITSR Racing, Hippie's Paint Shop, and this Budweiser team. Just having fun tonight. Had a close chance there for the win, but couldn't get her done. Dwayne's a good competitor too. He's tough, and it was fun to get a good long run in.
That's the driver who came home in the runner-up spot, the number 14 of Scott Simley. Yeah, that's Scott Simley. And now in Gatorade Victory Lane, you're going to find Jacob Silman alongside tonight's winner. I'm pretty sure it's a happy Dwayne Vincent.
Yeah, I'm glad I came back tonight because this is going to be a fun Victory Lane celebration. He's out of the car, and he started it with the Herb Emery Memorial on Sunday. He continues the resurgence with his first RSR broadcast win of any kind this season on Wednesday night. Dwayne Vincent, how's it feel to be back, my friend? Congratulations. You finally got one here on LSR TV.
It's about time, man. I got the monkey off my back. Feels great.
All right, so the last 15 or so lap run, once you guys were able to work around Jeff and you had clear track ahead of you, what was the battle like between you and Scott? You're both saving fuel. You're both trying to make it to the end. He's breathing down your rear deck lid there in the final laps. How hard was it to be able to save and yet be able to run the pace you needed to stay ahead of him?
That was nerve-wracking. I think I watched my relative more than I did the track, but I told Scott, I said, man, if you'd came out of the pits ahead of me, I'd have never caught you because I think we were running pretty much identical lap times the whole second run. So yeah, it was tough.
And I can hear the smile in your voice right now, Dwayne. I mean, as close as you've been, how many times this season on Monday nights and on Wednesday nights? I mean, just to finally have the monkey off your back, is this the start of something where we'll see more of this maybe the second half of the season? Is this what you needed to build some momentum?
I sure hope so, man, because it's been frustrating. You know, a couple of seconds, couple of thirds here and there, and a bunch of top fives, and just couldn't get it done. So yeah, this feels great. Hopefully the monkey's off our back and we can get back into victory lane, especially in the Cup Series.
And it's amazing to me that you get back to victory lane tonight just barely a week after your protege and really the guy who's helped you so much the first part of this season, Adam Benefiel, has pulled his entry from the Full Throttle Cup Series on Monday nights for the rest of the season. So I know that's a little bit of a different feel, but yeah, it's got to feel pretty good for you, even if he's not running, to be able to get one done for Adam.
Yeah, all the guys that won up really, and I respect his decision to do what he's doing. He's been helping out one of the DWC drivers and Tyler Hudson, and he wants to run for pro next year. So he's going to concentrate on building his I rating up and getting into the pro series, which I think he should. He's a good enough driver to do that. And yeah, I miss having him. He's taught me a lot actually, and all those guys that went up, they've taught me quite a bit. So, yeah, I'm going to miss him.
And, Dwayne, I know you can't do it by yourself, and there's always people to thank. Who makes it happen for you and the 13 crew?
Well, all the guys that won up, man, and all you guys at RSR and all you guys at LSRTV. We appreciate it, man. Y'all do great. Dwayne, y'all do a really good job.
We appreciate it as well. Congratulations again. Brilliant drive to victory lane, and I'm sure we'll be hearing about this. You can carry some momentum to Monday night now.
That's it, man. Thank you.
That's Dwayne Vincent. I'm done down here in victory lane. Justin Rosenau, I know somewhere there's a full field rundown to hit through. All right, we'll try something in a minute. Get back to Justin in just a moment and see if we can't at least run through some of the full field rundown. So we'll get back to the broadcast booth in just a moment. Some mic issues there, but Dwayne Vincent, again, coming home with the victory. Scott Simley and Thomas George rounding out the podium. Chad Cole, 4th, and Jose Gonzalez was 5th. Christopher Hurlow, 6th. Anthony DeBarro, 7th, and Thomas Lattimore, 8th. The final car on the lead lap tonight, Paul Williams, the 2nd, 9th, and as Dwayne and there Thomas, when he was interviewed on Pit Road, alluded to, Jeff Ward rounded out the top 10 and holding the championship lead over Jose Gonzalez, who finished 5th tonight, headed to the finale in 2 weeks' time at Homestead. Doug Roth coming home 11th, a lap down. Greg Omo 12th, 13th, and the final car running was Wyatt Wolf. Out of the race, Anthony Palumbo, Jared Como, John Klickner. Short field tonight, just 16 cars, but still a competitive race. 0.243 seconds, the margin of victory at the checkered flag. And Justin, Brian, Justin, I'll start with you because I never expected this to go caution-free, number one. Number two, I never expected this to be anything but the Jeff Ward and Anthony DeBarro show. And number three, it was actually a pretty close race to the finish.
Well, you kind of really took the words out of my mouth there. I mean, just a lot of time's been spent here in the last 2.5 months or so on just how much and how historic the run that Jeff Ward has really made, not only in the Asphalt Assault Series presented by Inside Sim Racing, or the Outlaw Truck Series, or the Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking. It really has been, especially in the last month or so, with the addition of Anthony DeBarro to the all 3 series in Real Sim Racing. So, you know, really, it's an uncharacteristic night for both drivers, finishing well down in the running order. So, Jacob, it's really anybody's guess to see if this is the new trend or it'll be right back to the same here in 2 weeks' time. It's really Jeff Ward's championship to lose. It's not quite locked up. Like you said, the gap around 25 points or so going into the final race in 2 weeks' time. So, yeah, it's really Jeff Ward's to lose.
Yeah, unless, as Jacob alluded to earlier on, unless we get a large enough field to where we have enough cars in the field where he can lose points and allow Jose Gonzalez or Scott Simley to get up there and actually do something, it's going to be Jeff Ward winning this championship, and he definitely deserves it. If he ends up taking home this championship, it's not going to be a situation where he didn't earn it. He worked his tail off all season long going out there and practicing and making sure he had a fast car week in and week out. And he did everything he needed to do, and they put forth a championship effort all season long. So he certainly did everything that was necessary to get this job done. And I hope that we have a big enough field where there is a little bit of excitement there, because I would like to see there be a little bit of a championship battle. I'd hate to see that Jeff Ward could just walk away with it going into Homestead, but it remains to be seen. Hopefully we'll get a few more cars and we can have a decent little battle there when we get into Homestead.
And we'll be looking to see what happens right now. Our next RSR broadcast going to be on Monday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series, and you'll hear about it from the Michigan International Speedway. So we'll be back in the Irish Hills in just about 5 days' time. But for right now, for Justin, Brian, John, and all the crew at RSR, and of course our executive producer Laura Lawson here at LSRTV, I'm Jacob Seelman, again congratulating Dwayne Vincent on a big win, his first RSR win of the 2015 season here tonight in the Asphalt Assault Xfinity Series at Michigan. And we'll see you Monday night back here in the Irish Hills. Until then, keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we'll see you next time on the web. Good night from Brooklyn.